Hello, my name is LoG and welcome to part 2 of my Chord Arpeggio power-up. Let's get started. Okay, it's time to look at the first half of the actual chord progression for this part. Hopefully you already have a picking configuration that's comfortable and you're practicing it and it feels good, because if that is already done, then the rest of this whole power-up is going to be pretty easy because it's just some chord shapes that you play and you maintain that pattern. So it should be smooth sailing from here on out as long as you have the pattern. So the first two chords are the first two chords we've already played in the part 1 track, and that was this, the G sharp minor, 1, flat 3, flat 7, and then open B string, which is just another flat 3. We do that for 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and then we pull it back to this one, which was the G, B, E, and then the open B string. That's like an E minor with G in the bass. We do it once, right? Exactly like what we just did in pattern 1, or part 1, excuse me. So we hit that once, then the next chord is literally the same thing, moved back 1 fret. That's it. All right, so you can think about this as like B major 7 with 5 in the bass. So that would be like the 5 right there. That's the 7, that's the 3. And then the open B string is the 1, the root. And we do the same idea, right? This whole sequence as we run through it, it's almost always going to be, actually in this case, it will be 3 hits on one chord, 3 repetitions, 1, 2, 3, then 1 on the next chord. Then 1, 2, 3, 1 on the next chord, 1, 2, 3, 1 on the next chord, etc. That's always how it's going to be as far as the repetitions go. So check out the first 4. We've got this one, the one we've been doing. 1 rep of this, right? Then 3 here, just literally the same chord, back a fret, same exact fingering too. 3 times, 3. Then we move back to this chord, play it once, and then we continue. So this chord, we're coming from there, right? The B major 7 in with the 5 in the bass. That would be second inversion if you want to get technical. Okay, 1 repetition. Then from here, I'll try to angle my neck a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. From here, it's the same idea. See these 2 notes right there on the D, G strings? They're both going to move back 2 frets. So they're still stacked like that, 2 frets, except now my pinky is here playing this F on the A string. So we're coming from this chord to this chord. So ring finger lifts up, it's not doing anything. Once again, this chord, these 2 fingers do not change. They're still there, still playing, but the pinky then reaches up to this F and plays this. It's like a C sharp major, C sharp dominant, I guess I should say, with the 3 in the bass. So that'll be like the 3, 5, 1, and then the open B string is the flat 7. So we're coming from this. 3 times, 1 time here, right? So you might be thinking, why am I doubling these 2 notes? Can I just bar like that? You can, but you have to make sure that the open B string is ringing, because that note is pretty vital for most of these chords. So that's why I'm doing it like this. If you can manage these 2 notes with a bar, like some doing one of these things with your finger, which I am not good at. Let me get the angle. There we go. That's a better angle. I'm not good at that sort of thing. So if you are, by all means do that, but I'm going to stick to this. So let's recap everything so far. The first one, right? I'll angle my neck a little bit so you can see that better. Then the next one looks like that. 1 repetition of that. Next chord, 3 repetitions of this, same exact voicing. And then 1 repetition of this. These 2 notes back here while the pinky is right there. 1 rep. Then we come to this chord. And this is E major 7 without, or actually there is a 5, it's just in the open B string. That would be the 1 of E, the 3rd of E, G sharp, the 7 of E, D sharp, and then the open B string is the 5 of the chord, but we're not physically playing it, we're letting the open B string play it for us. Really, really common voicing. So again, 3 repetitions here, and I'm playing it with these fingers, middle pointer, pinky. You don't have to do that, you can do middle pointer, ring. For some reason, I just gravitate towards this one for, I don't know why, it's just comfortable. But either one makes sense. I mean, you could do this if you wanted to, if that makes sense. Same exact chord, just with different fingers. It's up to you to figure out what makes the most sense for your hand. 3 repetitions, and then the next chord, 1 repetition of this. This is the same exact voicing, same shape as the very first chord that we played, except we're just doing it on D sharp now. So it's like, well, technically, to be specific, this chord is B add 9 with the 3 in the bass. So that would be D sharp, F sharp, C sharp, and then B. So that's the 3rd, the 5th, the 9 or the 2 of B, and then the 1 of B. You don't have to think about any of that if you don't want to. You could just play the chords. But if you were wondering, that's what the chord is. 1 repetition of that, right? So we're coming from this E major 7, 3 repetitions, 1 of this, B with 3 in the bass, and then we finish up with this chord. And this is like a C sharp. It's not really a minor 7 because there's no third in this chord, but we can think about it like that. It's C sharp, G sharp, B, and then the B again on the open string. And I'm playing it like this. The C sharp there, the B here, the pinky on the D string, and then the open B string right there. You might be saying, well, yeah, why don't I bar it? Again, because I need to make sure the open B string is ringing. And for me, the easiest way to do that is like this. So again, that's our 1, 5, flat 7, and then the open B string. So for this exercise, or for this part of the exercise, we're going to sit here and hold it 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we will restart the entire thing. But be aware that when we start running the entire exercise during the final video, once we get here, we're actually going to be running through a bunch of chords to build back up to the top, and each chord is only 1 repetition. So be aware, once we do the final part, we're going to be hitting this, bam, immediately, another chord if I can play it better. There's that next chord. So we're going to be moving up like that once we get to those later parts. But for now, we're just going to hit this chord, hold it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then repeat the whole thing. So let's run that one more time. We've got this first chord, G sharp minor 7 with no 5. 3 times. Then this thing right here, ring, pointer, middle, open B string, E minor with 3 in the bass. Once, pull it back 1 fret, same exact voicing. 3 times here, that's that B major 7 with the 5 in the bass. 3 times. Once here, that's that C sharp major, C sharp dominant with 3 in the bass. Once, then E major 7, right? 3 times. Then the B add 9, once. Right, that's that voicing. Remember, same exact voicing as we were playing up here, but because the open B string is now interacting with this shape differently, it's not really, we can't just look at that as the root like we did up here, because the B string, how the B string is impacting the sound. Once there, then onto this C sharp minor, like that, with the open B string. So I'll run it really slow without talking. You can see what it sounds like. Check it out. And then we repeat. So that's pretty much that whole part. Again, in the next part, we're going to add on to the end of that. So in this part, we're going to hold this chord 4 repetitions, but during the next part, we're going to hit this chord once, and then the next chord once, and then the next chord once, etc. So just be aware of that. But for this track, we're just simply going to run it just like that. So the tracks that we're about to play move from 50 to 110 BPM, and it's going to be 2 different playthroughs. The first playthrough, I'm actually not doing the pattern. I'm just playing the chords like this. That's all I'm doing. So I would recommend that you do that too, because that will allow you to focus on the chord shapes, making sure that the shapes are 100%, as opposed to trying to do everything right off the bat. So make sure these chords, the shapes, the voicings, excuse me, not the voicings, the fingerings that you have are comfortable, that they feel good, that that B string is always ringing out. You know, you don't want to play these chords like this and think, oh, sweet, I'm doing it, and then you don't realize that that B string is muted. So make sure every single string is loud and clear, including that open B string. I'm going to be picking it all at the same time with my pick and fingers. So I've got pick here, middle finger, ring, pinky, playing all 4 strings. There's my pinky, like that. You don't have to do that. You can strum like this if you want to. Make sure, though, remember the goal is that every note is ringing loud and clear, especially the B string. The B string is going to be the easiest note to accidentally mute, because all you need to do is just be lazy for, you know, like a millimeter's worth of laziness will kill that B string, right? Here's that E major 7. Here it is. Perfect. Now watch what happens when I move my hand just this much. dead, right? Just that tiny little motion now has a dead B string. So we need to make sure that our fingers are right up on the fingertips against the frets, etc. And we don't want to be lazy with our wrist, because then that will kill the B string. So make sure when you're playing these, the B string is always ringing, as well as all the other strings, of course. So I'm going to be doing the first playthrough, like I just said, picking the chords just like this. I'm also going to be picking them in groups of 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or let me do it better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if you want to do that, if you're playing in 7 is not super comfortable for you, I would, instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because that's just a lot to do, I would count some rhythm that is always in 7. So like you can do ba 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 da 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 ba 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 ba. That's kind of easier to do than going da 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 da. That's just, you know, too much to think about and it's annoying. So maybe just do that kind of rhythm. Ba 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 da 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 ba ba bum 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 bum, and that will kind of keep you in 7. And I think it's a little bit easier to do. So, and then after that playthrough, again, we're going to do another playthrough from 50 to 110, and I'm going to do the progression, but with the picking pattern. Exactly like what we talked about. So we're just combining what we did in part 1 with these new chords in part 2. So anyway, make sure you're practicing these parts, make sure the picking pattern is comfortable, make sure the voicings are all there, and everything should be good to go. So let's get on to those final tracks. right, that does it for part 2. We've got half of the chord progression down, so all we need to do is get the other half, and then we're ready to play over that final track. If you guys enjoyed this type of instructional material, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below, and I'll see you guys in part 3.